Malaysia strongly endorses UNSC resolution and immediate aid in Gaza. Non-tax revenue, an alternative to increase national income. Good evening, Salam Malaysia Madani, and you're watching Malaysia Tonight, and I'm Muhammad Amin Carlos. Malaysia today expressed in the strongest terms the country's endorsement of United Nations Security Council or UNSC Resolution 2728 and urged for the legally binding resolution to be enforced immediately. The Prime Minister, Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim, said the people of Gaza must be relieved from the immense pain and suffering they have now endured for almost 6 months. Now, in a release statement, he said that for the sake of Ramadan, in the spirit for which the season is intended to engender contemplation, renewal of faith and return to family, the legally binding resolution must be enforced now. Well, the UNSC Resolution 2728, which was passed on Monday, called for an immediate ceasefire of all hostilities in Gaza for the month of Ramadan, the immediate release of all hostages, and the immediate and urgent need to expand the flow of aid into the territory. Now, the Prime Minister said the United States, particularly, must prevail upon its ally to respect the will of the international community and accordingly observe the ceasefire and permit the immediate and massive entry of emergency aid. Dato' Sri Anwar said Malaysia also applauded the bravery and commitment to humanity of the 10 elected members of the Council, namely Algeria, Guyana, Ecuador, Japan, Malta, Mozambique, Sierra Leone, Slovenia, South Korea, and Switzerland. The Israeli-Hamas war, now in its 171st day, has pushed 85% of Gaza's population into internal displacement, while 60% of the enclave's infrastructure has been damaged or destroyed, according to the UN. Well, the central database hub of Padu system has complied with security features and met international standards. Economy Minister Rafizi Ramli said that despite more than 2 million attempts daily to access the system illegally, they all have been thwarted.
Rafizi said that in terms of Padu system security, the Padu system development team led by the National Digital Department closely collaborates with various agencies managing national cybersecurity and data privacy.
Walaupun rekodnya terutamanya pada bulan yang pertama ada cubaan akses sebanyak lebih 2 juta akses setiap hari, itu semua berjaya dipatahkan dan masih lagi tidak berjaya ditembusi. Sudah tentu ada perkara-perkara yang kita kena imbangi, contohnya sebab itu kita mengadakan geofencing dan kita tidak membenarkan akses daripada luar negara. Kerana setakat ini rekod yang banyak yang cuba akses adalah daripada luar negara, daripada IP ataupun lokasi-lokasi yang kita rasa berisiko. InsyaAllah, kaedah yang dinyatakan akan memastikan keselamatan sistem padu daripada penyalahgunaan selain memastikan tiada keciciran.
In terms of security, there are 3 main components involving focused data security. Among them is data security component involving access control implementation and encryption, which means that even if someone manages to break in and download files, those files need to be decrypted.
The Health Ministry, the MOH, aims to implement the digital transformation of healthcare at all health facilities nationwide within the next 4 to 5 years.
Its Minister, Dato' Sri Dr. Zulkifli Ahmad, said the implementation of the transformation through the One Individual, One Record strategy would begin with the use of the electronic medical record or EMR at every health facility that is involved.
Kementerian sedang mengambil beberapa perspektif baru pelaksanaan transformasi ini. Antara lainnya, kita telah mewujudkan satu bahagian kesihatan digital dengan izin Digital Health Division yang akan bertanggungjawab antara lain merangka pelan pendigitalan kesihatan secara holistik, future ready dan future proof dengan izin insya-Allah. Pembaharuan dengan pendekatan 4R, reform, relook, recalibrate dan realize, penyelarasan dan pelaksanaan. Ya, ini antara lain pastinya merangkumi aktiviti konsolidasi unit-unit digital di KKM yang terdahulu kita dah bertindak secara in silo, yang melihat ini kepada satu yang dirangkumkan sekaligus, yang melihat kembali semua sistem digital di KKM, menetapkan strategi pendigitalan baru mengikut arus teknologi terkini dan seterusnya mengimplementasi serta memantau implementasinya itu.
Datuk Seri Dr. Zulkifli said that, in addition, the government will conduct a comprehensive mapping study of the country's digital healthcare architecture and improve existing strategies to ensure fast implementation in providing more comprehensive and quality healthcare services to the people. Well, he said the KKM's focus on digital healthcare transformation between government and private facilities is aimed at increasing accessibility, safety and efficiency in the delivery of healthcare services. Regarding MOH's preparedness in using the EMR system, the minister is confident the ministry has the capability and expertise since health digitalization has already been introduced on a small scale at several hospitals and health clinics.
The Ministry of Communications has instructed the National Film Development Corporation Malaysia, FINAS, to look into the issue of child actor salaries to ensure that no party takes advantage of this group. Minister Fahmi Fadil said this issue is important as children may not know their rights as actors.
Pada waktu ini, FINAS sedang meneliti beberapa pindaan kepada akta FINAS, termasuk juga apa yang disebut sebagai peraturan-peraturan Perbadanan Kemajuan Filem Nasional Malaysia Pelesinan tahun 1983 untuk menambah baik antara lain isu mengenai kanak-kanak dan orang muda yang terlibat dalam penggambaran, juga isu-isu yang melibatkan kebajikan bagi para seniman, veteran dan juga kru penggambaran.
He added that the ministry viewed seriously a study which revealed that 73.13% of companies involved in film and drama production were unaware of the requirement to obtain a public entertainment license before employing child and young actors. Fahmi said currently, most production and filming companies will liaise with FINAS to apply for the Filming Authentication Certificate.
Semiconductor industry poised to become a strategic income source. This and more coming up. Well, Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim today acknowledged that the government will consider focusing on non-tax revenue as another alternative to increase national income apart from tax revenue.
Pada tahun 2023, pendapatan pelaburan mewakili 65% daripada hasil bukan cukai. Dan saya setuju usaha tambahan termasuk transformasi GISC untuk memastikan ada peningkatan pelaburan domestik. Bila pelaburan domestik lebih rancak, hasil bukan cukai pun harapnya boleh dapat ditingkatkan.
He said this in the Day One Rakyat today. Currently, the highest non-tax revenue is from investment income, including dividends from Petroleum Nasional Berhad or Petronas, Bank Negara Malaysia (BNM), and Khazanah Nasional Berhad, which on average contribute around 50% to the national revenue. Well, Anwar was responding to a proposal that governance in government-linked companies or GLCs and GLICs should be improved to reduce bleeding costs to give good returns to the national revenue. Non-tax revenue consists mainly of licenses and permits, petroleum royalty, interest and returns on investment.
Well, the increase in the service tax rate has not had a significant impact on inflation, with an estimated increase of around 0.2%, according to the Prime Minister. However, Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim, who is also the Finance Minister, said the government will continue to monitor any negative effects on the population through the Consumer Price Index.
Saya setuju memang ada. Cuma kalau dia sekitar 2% masih terkawal, masih rendah. Dan ada pandangan bahawa ada juga kesan di kalangan rakyat. Dan sebab itu kita cuba bantu dengan menambah STR dan beberapa tambahan untuk kerana faham bahawa ada kesan kenaikan kos sara hidup. Cara mengurangkan tekanan itu adalah menambah STR kepada rakyat terbanyak, dan seperti mana kita tahu dia dah mencecah jumlah bantuan kerajaan sudah 10 bilion tahun ini.
He said this in the day on Rakyat today. He was responding when asked to explain of the impact on the cost of living for the people and the production costs of industries due to the increase in service tax for certain sectors from 6% to 8%. The government expects an additional revenue of 3 billion ringgit from the adjustment, which will help Putrajaya improve targeted assistance to the people.
Well, on another note, Malaysia is on track to fill the existing 12,000 cybersecurity specialist shortage. Now, Dr. Sri Anwar said the collaboration with Canadian software company BlackBerry Limited to open the Cybersecurity Centre of Excellence, or CCOE, was one of the ways to reach Malaysia's target of 25,000 cyber defenders by the year 2025.
The CCOE curriculum offers training courses on BlackBerry cybersecurity products and services to upskill in areas such as AI and machine learning, as well as highly specialized courses delivered by the SANS Institute, Canada's Rogers Cyber Secure Catalyst, and other internationally recognized certification partners. It also offers select opportunities for scholarships for women cybersecurity professionals, with further plans to augment existing university curricula with CCOE student education programs.
We envision this center as a capacity building hub for the wider Southeast Asian region, with a specific focus on enhancing threat intelligence sharing and fostering regional cooperation in mitigating cybersecurity threats and combating cybercrime.
He said this in a speech at the CCOE opening ceremony in Cyberjaya today. Also in attendance was Communications Minister Fahmi Fadil and Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC Chief Commissioner Tan Sri Azam Baki. The Prime Minister added that CCOE was more than a facility to help train and upskill our national workforce, as it had the potential to be an international destination to address emerging cyber threats.
Well, the government now is committed to developing the semiconductor industry, which is now a strategic income source for the country. Well, in line with the expression, semiconductor is the new oil. Investment, Trade and Industry, or MITI Deputy Minister Liu Chintong said trade and technology competition between China and the United States, the US, in the semiconductor industry has benefited Malaysia.
This competition, according to Liu, has led multinational semiconductor companies to make strategic decisions to build a second supply chain and not to focus solely on one country to ensure a secure and resilient supply chain, or de-risking. Liu noted that many companies have selected Malaysia as a new location for their production facilities, and the country has an advantage over other nations with a mature semiconductor industry ecosystem since the 1970s, especially the ENE cluster in Pulau Pinang and Kolim, Kedah.
Limpahan pelaburan seperti dijangka mampu untuk terus meletakkan Malaysia sebagai salah satu destinasi pelaburan penting di dunia dalam memajukan industri chip global. Malaysia perlu mengambil peluang keemasan ini untuk mengembangkan lagi industri semiconductor negara dan menjadikan negara pengeluar semiconductor bernilai tambah tinggi dengan aktiviti di sepanjang rantaian, iaitu the whole supply chain, the whole value chain, seperti reka bentuk IC, fabrication wafer, pemasangan dan ujian dan pemasaran teknikal.
The Deputy Minister further emphasized that the government aims to ensure that investments in Malaysia will create value chains that create high-paying skilled jobs.
Well, adding to that, MITI, through a statement release, said Malaysia and South Korea have resumed the Malaysia-Korea Free Trade Agreement, or MKFTA, which is set to increase bilateral trade and investment between the two countries. So currently, both countries are parties to the ASEAN-Korea Free Trade Agreement and the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, agreement. Bilateral trade growth and industry demand between the two countries have been encouraging and the MKFTA is expected to cover the digital economy, the green economy, supply chain and bioeconomy. Malaysia was represented by Investment, Trade and Industry Minister Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul Abdulaziz and South Korea's Trade Minister Cheong In Kyo. Tengku Datuk Sri Zafrul said as Malaysia's 8th largest trading partner and a key collaborator to Malaysia's Look East policy, the resumption of the FTA between Malaysia and South Korea is both timely and strategic. He also noted that Malaysia-South Korea trade relationship has existed for over 4 decades, and they hope to leverage this to help move the target industries up the global value chain in sectors such as electrical and electronics, which is also known as E&E, medical devices, pharmaceuticals, the green economy and chemicals. Now, Malaysia, meanwhile, was ranked South Korea's 3rd largest trading partner in ASEAN and 12th largest globally, with total trade amounting to 118.4 billion ringgit in the same period. Now, FGV Holdings Berhad, or FGV, is determined to have the Withhold Release Order, or WRO, issued by the United States Customs and Border Protection, or CBP, on 30th September 2020, lifted. Now, FGV and its subsidiaries and joint ventures were banned by the CBP, effectively barring the entry of its products to the U.S. due to allegations of forced labor on its estates. So, elaborating further on the matter, Chief Sustainability Officer Nurul Hasanah Ahmed Hassain Malim said that FGV has implemented remedial measures to get the U.S. import ban lifted, including appointing global independent consultant Lloyd's Register Quality Assurance, or LRQA, to conduct an assessment of FGV's operations against the 11 International Labour Organization indicators of forced labor. Well, she said that as one of the world's largest crude palm oil producers, FGV has implemented a recovery plan to reduce the risk of forced labor in its operations. She said FGV plans to submit its petition to the CBP by the end of June 2024 to get the WRO revoked, with all the measures it has in place to address the gaps identified by the audit firm. So, based on the experiences of other companies slapped with a WRO, Nurul Hasanah said the CBP would usually take between 6 and 12 months to go through the petition and validate the estates. Senheng Electric, KL Sendirian Berhad, has announced a strategic collaboration with Huawei Technologies Malaysia Sendirian Berhad and A-Pulsar Technologies Sendirian Berhad to boost electric vehicle or EV adoption in Malaysia, leveraging Huawei's advanced EV chargers. So, Senheng President Lim Kim Cheng said the collaboration will establish a new benchmark for the country's journey towards clean energy adoption and highlight the collective efforts across various sectors to achieve carbon neutrality. He emphasized that offering these EV chargers is not just about selling a product, but promoting a lifestyle shift towards sustainability. Meanwhile, Huawei Malaysia's Vice President for Digital Power Business, Chong Chern Peng, affirmed the company's commitment to carbon neutrality through collaboration. A-Pulsar's Managing Director, Justin Cao, highlighted that the collaboration will empower EV owners' access to reliable charging solutions nationwide. Huawei EV chargers were launched at the Senheng Setialam store in Selangor on 22nd March and are now available at all Senheng and Senq outlets across Malaysia except for Sabah and Sarawak. Well, Malaysia's overnight policy rate, or OPR, is expected to hold steady at 3% throughout this year. And Public Investment Bank, or PIVB Research, in a note said this is in line with BNM's view that the current OPR level reflects a supportive monetary policy stance conducive to the economy, in line with the ongoing assessment of inflation and growth prospects. Well, the central bank projects that headline inflation will hover between 2 and 3.5% this year, reflecting the incorporation of potential inflationary pressures arising from the implementation of fuel subsidy rationalization. Essentially, any adjustment would directly impact headline inflation, albeit with a likely short-term effect as base effects diminish, given fuel's substantial share in the Consumer Price Index, or CPI basket. However, the extent of these risks hinges on potential knock-on effects, as firms may raise prices to offset increased costs, thereby amplifying broader price pressures. Externally, BNM also emphasized exchange rate fluctuations and global commodity price movements as additional drivers of inflationary pressure. Meanwhile, persistent factors like geopolitical tensions and weather disturbances could contribute to upward pressure on food inflation. RHB Investment Bank Berhad, or RHBIB, expects the inflation momentum to gain pace in the second quarter of 2024 or 2Q 2024 following the adjustments in services tax and anticipated rollout of diesel subsidy rationalization. So in its monthly economic view recently, the investment bank has maintained its 2024 headline inflation projection at 3.3% year-on-year or YOY. And according to the investment bank's estimates, the proposed fiscal consolidation measures are projected to lift the headline inflation by 0.7% to 1.1%. It said so far the inflation risks are cushioned by steady food prices, partially due to the continuation of food subsidies and price controls for staple food items. Now, RHBIB said the actual magnitude of the upside risks would be hinged on a few key factors, which is the effective date of implementation for fuel subsidy rationalization, the quantum of the prices and tariffs adjustments, and the strength of second-round impacts on the household spending and business costs. Well, at this point, there is no mention of the effective date for fuel subsidy rationalization or the new retail fuel prices. It added that the rough timeline for fuel subsidy rationalization is for diesel prices to be rationalized by 2Q 2024, followed by RON 95 fuel subsidy rationalization in the second half of 2024. Well, moving on, the Rapid Transit System, or RTS link, slated for completion in 2026, is proving to be a catalyst for Johor's economy by enhancing connectivity with Singapore and revitalizing the local property market, especially in Johor Bahru. Well, Property Guru Malaysia Country Manager Sheldon Fernandez said the southern state is witnessing a significant metamorphosis, shifting away from its status as the state with the highest property overhang to a much more advantageous position. And according to property marketplace iProperty Malaysia, the demand for Johor Bahru properties climbed by 17% when the RTS link reached 50% completion in April 2023. Meanwhile, Fernandez said Johor Bahru is also seeing a significant year-on-year median asking price growth of 20%. Or rather for service residences. So citing the Global Property Guide, Fernandez said the average gross rental yield in Malaysia stood at 5.16% as of the first quarter of 2024, with Johor surpassing the national average at 6.25%. He also said investors and home buyers seeking to capitalize on this momentum should carefully consider Johor Bahru and its surrounding suburbs. He added that the ongoing developments and anticipated economic growth could lead to attractive investment prospects in the real estate sector. Well, the World Bank launched its Systematic Country Diagnostic, or SCD, update for Thailand, highlighting 5 reform priorities for the Southeast Asian country to revitalize growth amid an enduring downturn. It said Thailand must prioritize creating a competitive and innovative economy, unlock growth in secondary cities, ensure sustainable climate-resilient developments, and strengthening fiscal institutions and public finance. The report highlighted that to become a more innovative and inclusive economy, Thailand must improve learning outcomes and close skills gaps by increasing education spending, optimizing resource allocation, and aligning education with labor market needs. Now, Thailand must also enhance tech competitiveness, strengthen competition regulations, attract skilled professionals, and empower small and medium-sized enterprises through increased access to finance for innovation. It noted that to attain economic prosperity while upholding environmental integrity, Thailand also needs to promote sustainable agricultural practices and responsible tourism. Now, this would also include addressing the challenges posed by climate change, including preventing and mitigating floods and droughts, improving the management of water resources, and prioritizing sustainable energy transition. South Korea's shoppers snatch up green onions on sale at a Seoul supermarket on Tuesday as worries grew over higher produce prices. A central bank survey showed on Tuesday that South Korea's consumer sentiment has dropped sharply in March, with inflation hitting the dinner table emerging as a major policy issue at next month's elections. A consumer inflation shot to the headlines after President Yoon Suk-yeol visited a supermarket last week and picked up a bundle of green onions, saying that, quote, 875 won is a reasonable price, unquote, seemingly unaware the item was on sale and subject to heavy government subsidy. Opposition party members and consumer groups criticize Yoon for being out of touch when the same product is normally sold at more than 4,000 won. The country's consumer inflation accelerated in February after 3 months of easing due to supply-side pressures, mostly from higher agricultural prices. Well, at one of Hanaro Mart stores in Seoul, customers were seen snatching up green onions piled up for sale at below market prices on government subsidies. But many remain skeptical that the relief would last. The Boao Forum for Asia, or BFA, says the Asian economy is expected to grow by around 4.5% in 2024, surpassing that of 2023 and continue to be the largest contributor to global economic growth. So according to the forum's ASEAN Economic Outlook and Integration Progress flagship report, despite facing various external economic challenges, the Asian economy will still maintain a relatively high growth rate, supported by relatively strong consumption and proactive fiscal policies. The report forecasts that by region, the economic growth rate of East Asia is expected to be the same as that of 2023 at 4.3%. South Asia's economic growth is anticipated to rise from 5.4% in 2023 to 5.8%, maintaining its position as the fastest growing region in Asia. Meanwhile, Central Asia's economic growth is likely to decelerate to 4.3% from 4.5% in 2023, while the economic growth in West Asia is expected to rise to 3.5% from 2.5% in 2023. In terms of trade and investment, Asia is expected to reverse the downward trend in 2023, the report said, explaining that the accelerated development of digital trade, the recovery of tourism in Asia, the continuous advancement of economic and trade arrangements, such as the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, among others, are expected to gradually emerge and add new impetus to Asian trade and investment. Well, that concludes this edition of Malaysia Tonight. In our top story, Malaysia strongly endorses UNSC resolution and immediate aid in Gaza. Till then, I'm Mohammed Amin Carlos. From the river to the sea, Palestine will be free. Thanks for watching.